Evening, everyone. It's Monday, December 8th at 7 p.m. We're going to go ahead and commence tonight's planning board meeting. We'll start first with the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Wang, can you lead us, please? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And we'll go ahead and start with roll call.
Yes, good evening. Board Member Hom.
Here.
Board Member Su.
Here.
Board Member Ruiz.
Here.
Board Member Wang.
Here.
Board Member Saheba.
Present.
And President Cisneros.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum with Board Member Ariza absent.
Okay, great. And do we have any agenda changes?
Nothing from staff.
Okay, great, thank you. And nothing from the board. Let's go ahead and move to non-agenda public comment. Anyone from the public may speak on an item that's not already agendized for tonight's meeting. You can speak for up to 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers?
Doesn't look like we have any speakers.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and close that item. Moving on to consent calendar, we have one item, which is the meeting minutes from November 10th, 2025. We had one absence, board member or Vice President Ariza, I think. But other than that,
I believe it was Board Member Ruiz.
or Ruiz, sorry.
That's right.
Okay. So just one absence, board member Ruiz. I see it now. Okay, do we have a motion?
I do have a minor correction to make to the minutes.
Okay.
The minutes state that I think I abstained on the adoption of the July 28th minutes. But it was actually, I think, board members Saheba and Su who abstained due to absence, not me.
Okay, let's see. I see. That's under 4C on those minutes, so I'll correct that.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Other than that, I'm happy to motion to approve.
Okay, great. We have a motion with amendment on the table. All those in favor say aye.
I will second.
And we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And
One abstention.
one abstention. Okay, great. That closes the consent calendar, although do we have any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, that item is officially closed. Moving on to item 5A, which is the design review vesting tentative map for the Midway Brookfield project. Do we have a presentation?
Yes, Henry Don will be making the presentation for staff, and then the applicant is also here
Great.
and has a presentation.
Good evening, President Cisneros, members of the board. Henry Dong with the Planning, Building, and Transportation Department. Tonight I'm joined by Brookfield Residential and their design team. And so I'm just going to give a brief introduction, and then the applicant will present the new design. Just a note, we did receive 6 public comments that we distributed to the board earlier today. So the request of the board tonight is to hold a public hearing and approve the design review application for the 62 new buildings that will contain 284 units, and approve the vesting tentative map application to subdivide the property for condominium purposes, and then recommend the city council approve the proposed street names. Just to give a brief background of how we got here today. The project over the past 7 years, has received approvals for both the Reshape project and the West Midway project for development plan, development agreement, and DDA. Through that process, the developer has also committed to contributing construction of the infrastructure for both of the projects, and that makes it possible for both the Reshape and the West Midway project to provide 801 total units, including 201 replacement affordable units, 162 new affordable units, and 44 workforce housing units. And so this site is also a housing opportunity site and a priority program for the housing element. And so the project is critical to the city meeting its commitment to constructing 5,300 units by 2031. This application for Phase A contains most of the market rate housing for the project, and the sale of these units will help to fund the improvements that the developer will be doing. Just real quickly, back in May 2023, the planning board approved the development plan for the West Midway project. Over the past 6 months, the applicant has been working closely with staff to develop the plans for the project to address all of the conditions and requirements of the development plan, including architectural design requirements, landscaping, the street, pedestrian and bike improvements, and also the project also meets its affordable housing requirements and public access requirements. As part of that approved development plan, the board also approved a use permit to allow additional parking for the project, a universal design waiver, and building height exceptions to allow taller buildings. And so those are all being applied to this design review application. And so staff's recommendation tonight is for the board to hold a public hearing and approve the draft resolutions approving the design review and vesting tentative map applications, and recommending the council approve the street names. And so now I'll hand it off to Brookfield.
How can I change? Good evening, commissioners. My name is Alejandra Dominguez, and I'm here with Brookfield Residential. First of all, I really want to appreciate staff, all the time, dedication, and really hard work to work together to get into this point in this project. We are really proud to present this project with you, because I think that is going to be a project that we are going to bring to life together. This has been a teamwork, and I'm really happy to be here. Also, I want to introduce the team members that they have been working all together with us. We have David with KTUY. We have Margaret with Woodley Architects. Also, we have Margaret that she has been, with Woodley Architects. Also, we have Jason working with K Victor. And also, we have the team of civil engineers that were at CBG. And also, they are here to answer any questions that you could have. So we are really thankful for that. Also, thank you very much for your time and for your consideration for this project. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Brookfield. Brookfield Properties is a really big company that has a lot of expertise in real estate. They also have a lot of projects within retail, commercial, multifamily, and we have big developments, and also we are here as builders. Some of the projects that I would like to mention to you in Northern California is, as master developer, we have Boulevard in Dublin. We have Pier 70 in San Francisco. Also, we have Napa Pipe in Napa. We have Rosewood in Morgan Hill, and we have been part of the One Lake project in Fairfield. So now, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is the project site. The West Meadow project is part of the Main Street Neighborhood Plan that is part of the Alameda Point. And in this case, we're just presenting what is, the project is divided into different phases. We have planning area A and planning area B. In total, the project will be built in 22.8 acres. Planning area A, which we are presented today, it will be developed in 12.4 acres. We are proposing to build 284 units, which is they're going to be built in three different kind of housing types, which they're going to be presented in different streets. In that way, when you walk around, you're going to see different styles of the houses. Also, we are proposing to build a beautiful park, a greenway that is going to be connecting from Main Street through Orion Street, and then it's going to continue to planning area B, which it will come in the future. Also, we are going to have Valor Avenue that will be a private street, but it's going to connect from Main Street to Orion. We are going to have three different kind of types of houses that are going to be integrated in different streets. Again, as you see, you're going to have different options to see the three different designs that we have. Now, I have here with me David from KTUY that is going to help us to go more into the details from architectural standpoint. Thank you very much.
Back up a little bit. Thanks for the opportunity to present the crafted neighborhood to you this evening. Very happy to be back before the planning board here. See some familiar faces still on the board. And be here to talk about this great project. As Alejandra said, my name's David Burton. I'm an associate principal with KTGY. And I'll be presenting our designs and also that of our colleagues from Woodley Architecture Group and K. Victor. The crafted neighborhood is defined, as I imagine you guys are probably familiar at this point, is defined by a grid of private streets bisecting the site, Valor Avenue and Skylark Street, and those connect to an existing network of public streets that define the boundaries of the neighborhood. These private streets will have easements dedicating them for public access. These streets, along with our central greenway, break the site down into walkable blocks, similar in scale to existing Alameda neighborhoods. This is done to fulfill the specific plan's goal of creating a walkable neighborhood. Another important goal of the design is to ensure that the homes engage with passersby on all sides that face out to a street or a pedestrian way. We worked closely with city staff to design the homes so that where a building faces a street or a greenway, we have front doors. That means that homes on the ends of buildings have their front doors facing the streets and have decks and major living spaces overlooking those streets. As Alejandra mentioned, there are three types of homes in Phase A of the project, and they're intentionally intermingled throughout the neighborhood such that along most of the streets you see at least two, if not all three, of the housing types. We worked very closely with staff to achieve this. The intention is to give each street greater visual interest by providing a variety not only of housing types, but a variety of scale, materials, color, and details. Equal in importance to the street network and the engagement of our buildings with it are our open spaces. There are approximately 3 acres of landscape and planted areas in the overall plan. The primary open space and connectivity element is this greenway that you see on this screen, and an actively programmed greenway park. The greenway is an integral part of the site's plan's grid of pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. It provides a publicly accessible multi-use path from Main Street to Orion Street, and then in Phase 2 it continues along Waves Avenue all the way to Pan Am Way. This spine provides a safe pedestrian and bike path
separated from vehicular traffic that connects all parts of the development. It also connects the reshaped neighborhood with the open spaces that are at the center of the crafted neighborhood, providing an opportunity for the two neighborhoods to come together. Where the Greenway intersects with Main Street, there's an entry node and publicly accessible signage announcing the entry to the path. This entry node includes a gathering space with seating. Further along the Greenway at the intersection with Skylark Street, there's another gathering space that will have open-air reading room and a community-free library. The Greenway provides access to the actively programmed Greenway Park at Orion Street. The park fulfills the intentions of the development plan and offers a variety of opportunities for residents to gather and play. The park is privately owned and maintained by the Crafted's HOA, but is open for public use. The park is set at this intersection to maximize visibility and accessibility. Residents of the Crafted and Reshaped neighborhoods can easily and safely access the park via the walking and bicycle paths on the Greenway that are separated from vehicular traffic. The park will have a number of amenities, including play structure geared towards younger children, open turf and stepping balls for climbing and imaginative play, and a variety of seating areas that provide opportunities for neighbors to gather and interact. And bike parking is provided to encourage car-free access to the park. Artisan is a neighborhood at the top edge of the site along West Midway, a neighborhood of 2- and 3-story duets. This neighborhood has been designed by our colleagues at Woodley Architectural Group. The contemporary designs employ specific strategies to ensure that the 3-story structures are visually appealing and integrated within an overall design. The massing strategy uses protruding and receding elements, along with recessed windows, to significantly break down the overall perceived mass and create necessary shadow and depth. The design is contemporary, utilizing clean, strong vertical elements and a durable material palette in 3 distinct but complementary color schemes. Every unit is designed with generous outdoor living spaces that significantly enhance residential livability. Every one of the 60 homes includes a private rooftop terrace, maximizing usable outdoor space and offering residents a premium amenity. Harmony is a neighborhood of 3-story townhomes. There are 2 distinct types for these buildings. The first style, which you see on the upper right and the lower left images, takes cues from some of the existing architecture on the base, most specifically the use of the horizontal banding at the upper level windows. Primary materials for this style are stucco and horizontal lap siding. We've tried to set apart the second style by giving it more vertical proportions and introducing some standing seam metal siding that makes a nod towards some of the more industrial buildings at the base. Both styles have lighter color schemes that pick up on colors used for many of the buildings in the historic core of Alameda Point. All units have second-floor decks that overlook the streets and paseos, actively engaging the life within the homes with the activity on the street. As I noted earlier, where the ends of the buildings face the streets or paseos, we have designed the homes to have their front doors, decks, and major living spaces oriented to the ends of the building. And you can see that in the 2 images on the left hand portion of the page. And then our third neighborhood is Mastery. It's a neighborhood of 4-story condominium buildings. The materials and forms of these buildings draw their inspiration from the more industrial warehouse buildings at Alameda Point. The buildings have varied massing and color blocking to help break down the scale and mass of the buildings. Where possible, we have set back the 4th floor, and in some instances, the 3rd floor, in order to break up the massing and give a more pedestrian scale to the buildings. And we've incorporated stoops at the entries to many of the homes to give the buildings a welcoming residential feel on the street. So that's a quick overview. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to present the project this evening, and our team is available to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you so much for that presentation. I'll bring it back to the board for any clarifying questions and then open up to public comment. So any questions from any board members?
question.
Yeah, Board Member Wang.
Question for staff. This project obviously goes back quite a few years, and I did see mention in the packet not just of units that are affordable by statute, but I think reference to units that are affordable by design. So I was just curious what that meant in the context of this project.
I think you're referring to the workforce housing affordable by design. Those were going to be designed, I guess, affordable in terms of like size and I guess the features in the units. So that's what the affordable by design is going to be.
Okay, and are there any of those in this particular proposal, or are there elsewhere in the project?
They're part of Phase B.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Luis? Or, oh, no, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
You came at the same time, so who wants to go first more?
Thank you for the presentation, and I just want to disclose that I have met with the applicant twice throughout this process, so they have to address most of my concerns already during that process. Also, I have questions for the staff. First question is, how will our new affordable housing ordinance affect this, if any? And two, please clarify exactly how many affordable housing units will be delivered in this phase, because according to the draft of the affordable housing agreement, it says a minimum of 2. I just want to confirm, is it 2? Is it 2 plus? What are we approving?
So this phase has 2 moderate units,
2 moderate income,
Yeah.
okay.
and then the remaining balance would be on Phase B, which would have 37.
And I'll just add, the relationship to the inclusionary ordinance is that this project is being developed pursuant to a development and disposition agreement and a development agreement, and those set forth the phasing and the requirements. So I believe the intent was to focus on the infrastructure improvements and site improvements and the contribution towards the development of the reshape phase, which is concurrent. And so the master developer is providing the infrastructure and site preparation for that 100% affordable project in this early phase, and then we'll be developing their own units later.
Okay, so then so our new affordable housing ordinance will not affect this project at all because this is under DDA?
It's both under the DA, and also the ordinance doesn't apply to Alameda Point. Alameda
Got it.
Point's governed by a separate settlement
That's right,
agreement.
that's right. Okay, thank you for the refresher. No further questions.
Board Member Han?
Yeah, just some follow-up questions. Thank you for the presentation. And this kind of follows up on some other board members' questions. I'm still not totally clear the difference between the workforce housing units and the market rate units, because in the staff reports, it says the workforce units are for 120 to 180% of income. That's pretty much market rate, so I'm not sure. What is the difference between the market rate units and the workforce units?
I think the main difference is just by design, they're designed to be affordable, but I don't think they have a affordability requirement to them. As far as I
Okay,
recall.
so
Yeah.
what's the significance of 120 to 180? Are the market rate units, are there some market rate units that are meant to be priced at over 180%? Because that's pretty high. It seems like that's already, covers market rate. I'm just not clear. I'm not being critical. I'm just not clear.
Maybe I might have to take a look at that language.
Or maybe perhaps the applicant can clarify that too, yeah. And then I have another question. You included us a copy of the affordable housing agreement, and I'm just kind of wondering, I don't see in the recommendation that we have a role in making a recommendation on that? Is that percentage just for information, or is it something that you're seeking comments or input from the planning board on?
It's just supporting
It's just
information.
background information for us? Okay, just want to make sure. And then a third question, is this just really clarification for the record? I read one of the public comments letter that seems to, I think is, I don't think is quite accurate, but they're stating that we're exceeding the cap of Alameda Point, and I don't believe that's the case, right? This project is fully within the development plan that was approved and the EIR that was certified for that, and this project falls within the Alameda Point cap. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is
Okay.
following the development
Okay.
plan that was approved.
Yeah, that's what I assume. I just wanted to make sure that's understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other clarifying questions from board members? Yes, Board Member Sahiba?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation as well. A few questions. One, I know we're just reviewing Phase A and not phase, the subsequent phase. Would the same typologies that we're reviewing for Phase A would be applicable to Phase B? Yeah, the typologies that are shown in Phase A, would those same design strategies and typologies be also conveyed to Phase B?
But we're going to have in Phase B, there are going to be townhomes and what we're calling market rate, that they're going to be condominiums, interlocking condominiums, where they're going to be smaller. And the difference is like the workforce concept that we're talking about is a more kind of like basic design that is like it's going to be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, but there's not going to have a principal bedroom with a principal bath. It's going to be more like in the different, I will say, in the way that I grew up, there were 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and we were sharing everything. That is, and it's going to be a smaller unit, but also they're going to have all the services. There's not going to be difference in anything.
Okay, so for example, the 3-story townhomes in Phase A, which is colored the same as 3-story townhomes in Phase B, will they be essentially, they won't be? Okay.
No, they
okay.
won't be.
They
There-
still
there's
have the
gonna-
same height limits and everything, but
Exactly.
they just,
Yes. It's,
they're going to be different. I see.
yeah, for example,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
for example, like the townhomes in planning area A, those are designed by KTUI, and the townhomes in planning area B will be designed by Woodley. So it's going to be a different design, but also they're going to be integrated as part of the community.
Okay, all right, great. Then the other question I had was we had a universal design waiver, is that correct, for this project?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I see in the duets there is some plans that are indicating universal design. Is that just, even though they have the waiver, they've decided to pursue that?
Yes, we worked actually very closely with them to prepare as many universal design units as possible, I think.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I didn't know that was a strategy. Okay, great. And then, let's see, the only other question I have is, let me try to find it here. As far as because I didn't have a chance to look at this, I see a series of documents that talk about facade transparency and facade area. Could you, I didn't hear a clear explanation of what that was for.
Yeah, as part of the development agreement, the board required and the council required that they comply with the objective design standards, although they were still in concept stage at the time. And so some of the exhibits that you have there are demonstrating compliance with those objective design standards, as was mentioned, accessible entrances facing the street, transparency, the relief, balconies, and things like that were all evaluated, again, very closely with staff to ensure compliance, as well as offering this design review opportunity for more qualitative elements.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so I guess my question on that is there a reason that when I look at the diagram specific to, I guess it's sheet A-0.6, the facades to the north are not analyzed?
I believe the standards apply to facades facing public streets and greenways. And so there are some other exceptions for the alleyways, and I believe that's
I'm just
what
looking at on the intersection, well, there's some facades facing Main Street to the north. Is that not considered a public street? I mean, to the south, it does indicate a green band, but it does not indicate a green band to the north of Avenue A. But on the south side of Avenue A, there's analysis, but not on the north side of Avenue A. Is that, so I'm just curious about this strategy. Is West Midway Avenue considered a public street?
I think I'll let the
Okay.
applicant
Okay.
respond to that.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Margaret. I'm with Woodley Architects, and we designed the Artisan project, which is on the north side of the site. And to your point, while there's no analysis done for transparency because the standard did not require that compliance for 1- and 2-family dwellings, which we fall under. We had the facades facing Main Street and West Midway, as well as Orion, do in effect comply with the transparency requirements. It's just that the exhibits were not added because they were not required.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions, thanks.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if I could, I just wanted to respond to Commissioner's question about workforce housing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
There is a requirement in the downtown specific plan with respect to workforce housing, and it says that 10% of the units must be dedicated to workforce housing, and that the planning board could waive that requirement, however. And it looks like it just requires that the original offering be sufficient to qualify for the workforce housing. There doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be permanently deed restricted to 120 to 180%. But the initial sale of the units must be to that sector.
To the 120 to 180?
Correct.
Isn't that market rate? I'm thinking
Well,
that's,
Yeah, I would suggest, for the ownership housing, generally no. That's still subsidized for the first buyer. And I think the intent was that hopefully that first buyer is serious about being a homeowner and doesn't just flip it, but they, invest in the community and they live there for a while. But it's not deed restricted. And market, in terms of AMI, is closer probably to 300%.
oh, really?
And so to buy one of these condos these days is probably quite a bit more than
So-
what that would be.
So the price for these workforce housing units might be half the price then? Oh, okay, I didn't realize it was such a large differential.
Yeah.
And sorry, that was stipulated in the downtown specific plan, that's what you called it? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that requirement was also incorporated then into the development agreement.
Okay, yeah. Sorry to interrupt, yeah, thank you. And I saw some hands go up here. Board Member Sue?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Just a couple questions. I was looking at the landscape and civil plans, and I see that West Tower Avenue doesn't look like it's part of the project, and it says, I think there's a note on sheet C 1.0, improvement by others, and I was just curious if that, is that something that will happen soon? I guess maybe that's a question for the city, or kind of what are the plans for the improvement in West Tower? And I think more specifically, it looks like this project will at least build out the sidewalk, because you have homes that will be fronting it. So I guess that's just a clarification.
We have a couple of civil engineers in the room. They might be able to answer that.
Good evening. I'm Angelo Bertello with CBG Civil Engineers. So the West Tower improvements are already part of the development agreement for the Site A development to the south. So that's why it's listed that way. However, there's other agreements with this development team to deliver those improvements along with Site A's development team. So the project is working towards providing those improvements. It's just subject to coordination with the Site A development.
Okay, great, thanks. Other question I had, so Valor is gonna be, it'll stay private, but there'll be a public access agreement, right? And then, but Skylark will that be dedicated to the city? And that's just gonna be a public right-of-way? Right, okay. Okay, I think that's all I have for now, thanks.
Thank you. And were there other questions from the board? No? Okay. Just want to, oh, yeah.
I just had one more question,
Yeah, yeah.
and developer may not know this just yet, but is the plan for there to just be one master HOA for this whole project, or will it be? Okay, got it, thank you.
Yeah, Board Member Hahn.
Not a question, I just forgot. I meant to disclose that I did also meet with the developer to go over their project plans.
All right. Great. Thanks for all the questions. I'll also disclose that I met with the developer. And I guess I had just a couple clarifying questions, going back to the point that there were a series of public comments, most of them in support. There was one that was more critical, and I was just wondering, were there, aside from exceeding the cap, were there any other points made from that letter that, I don't know, if staff or legal wanted to respond to just for the benefit of the public? If not, that's fine. I just want to.
Yes, I have a couple of comments that might be helpful to the discussion. There was a comment raised about the historic impact of the project, and this particular project is not located within the historic district, within the Alameda Point Historic District. It's outside of that district, and so further historic review is not required. There was also a comment about relying on the Alameda Point EIR and the general plan EIR for the analysis of this project. And as we've discussed in connection with other developments, this particular West Midway housing project was discussed in the Alameda Point EIR as well as the general plan EIR, and all of the impacts that could flow from this project were discussed and analyzed and mitigated in those prior EIRs, and there is no additional information or facts or circumstances related to this particular project that would change the conclusions in those prior EIRs.
Thank you, that's really helpful. And my other question, I guess in the staff report, it mentions that in the development plan, there was a requirement for a roundabout. I guess it was just to explore the roundabout, and that wasn't feasible. Like, I just wanted to better understand, like, the reasoning behind that. I don't know if staff has any insight on that.
Well, I think you captured it, that it was meant to be explored, and given the constraints, I believe in just the overall scope of infrastructure work that needs to be done, and the right-of-way at that particular location, that was not pursued.
Okay, great. And then last question, why the street names? I'm just curious, like, if there was a process that went behind choosing the street names. It seems like, I don't know, if they were just picked randomly from the already approved list, or if there was any rhyme or reason to it. I was just curious.
Yeah, they were selected from the already approved list from the HAB, so they were existing names on that list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Great. I think those are all our clarifying questions. And with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. Any speakers?
If there are any speakers online, please raise your hands. Not seeing any speakers online.
Okay. And with that, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for any discussion, feedback, or guidance for the applicant before we make a decision. Anyone want to start? It's like a showdown. Board Member Sue.
I'll just also disclose that I met with the applicant, and you know, I thought they put together a very complete application. Also want to acknowledge staff, though. You know, there's a lot of exhibits here, and I thought thing looks good. But yeah, I mean, no further comment. I just want to highlight the various. I thought the public comments came from a very diverse group of agencies and companies. So it's good to see the support, and you know, exciting to see. Hopefully, this project will play out. So, thank you.
Go ahead. Board Member Sahiba.
Okay. Yeah, I guess thanks again for the presentation. So I just wanted to, well, it's a design review, so we'll talk design for a little bit. The varying scales, obviously, of the building creates some diversity in the neighborhood, which I think is great. And I appreciate I know there was the inspirational images that were shown in some of, in each category, you know, from the duets to the various other types of buildings there are in this phase. The inspirational images, I mean, varied a bit, but there was a consistent thread of looking at some of the buildings on Alameda Point that obviously have a certain clarity to them, and I'm not saying that there need to be any translation there, but the only thing that I started to see that started to vary a bit from the different types they are were really the duets. It felt to me that the duets feel a little bit more jumbled than, that's a technical term, than the other buildings, although the other buildings have a lot of, I guess, movement to them. to sort of describe that. But definitely the duets felt like a very different part of this puzzle. And so I just think some thinking of like how there could be a little bit more connection between the way that the massing gets resolved and maybe some level of consistency would not be a bad thing. Also, when I look at the rendering that's on the cover page, just showing the park and then the 4-story building sort of fronting the park and the 3-story building framing the other edge, there's this vernacular that's like this clip that wraps around. In the 3-story, it goes up 2 stories and then comes back down, and then in the 4-story, it goes up 3 stories. And to me, that datum that's being established, if there's a way to manage its consistency, meaning on the one idea would be on the 3-story, it goes up 3 stories, so that datum is then consistent, even though the scale of the 2 buildings are different, would be just a question as far as, I think that's what, when you go around, and I know the scale of the buildings are, well, they're not that different, but they're different programs as far as in Alameda Point. They have very strong datums to them that create continuity, and I think, especially when this is all one development and there's buildings that are adjacent to each, I think there's a strong datum established on the ground floor, especially with the balconies that are projecting at times or the ground entry being recessed, so that I think that's a datum that feels pretty consistent. And I get that the datum at the very top is going to move around a bit because of the different heights of these buildings. But that in-between datum, I think could become a little bit more consistent. And then I guess lastly, the situation with the material palette and thinking through essentially back to this image, the adjacency of, one building versus the other. And it seems like a bigger shift in material palette than, or which may be fine, but I just think that, and I know there was probably a desire because there's multiple architects working on these projects, so there's gonna create some variety in that. But I was curious, like from the resident experience or the visitor experience, people at the street, because we're floating up above looking at some of these views, but really at the street level, is there continuity in like wayfinding? Do you know when you've arrived to the front door in each one of these buildings? Is there a certain thread that runs through the 3 types that are being presented at that ground level? And maybe it's being tied together with landscape. It's not, I know we have those landscape plans, but it wasn't super clear to me like how maybe those arrival points or points of orientation were being developed to just give that sense of like, okay, now you've arrived at the front door, and it's even though the building types may vary, there's a clear sensibility to wayfinding. So that would be my other comment. I can't quite tell from the street side, like I know we have, the transparency diagrams and everything showed the stoops and other, I guess, access points on the street. But I couldn't tell with some of the variation in the way that, some of the streets pull away a bit from the building facades. Do they still have that sense of, okay, you now have this building fronting on the street, or does it feel like the building's been pulled back and not necessarily really fronting the street? So I think that could be solved a little bit with the dual play of hierarchy of the actual walkways. Like there's the more public walkway, more adjacent to the street, but when a building starts pulling away, maybe there needs to be a secondary walkway that helps peel off that public walkway, so it creates that second level of frontage. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on the design side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it might be helpful, I don't know, for the applicant to ask further clarifying questions. But I'm wondering if you could just say a little bit more, the term you use for the duets, like, and it sounded to me, you were able to provide some kind of guidance or feedback on each point, but for the duet piece, I don't know if you want to say a little bit more about that in terms of potential solutions or thoughts.
Well, okay, I can try.
If not, that's fine. I was just
yeah,
curious.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. I think my further thoughts on the duets would be that they feel very different than the rest of the project, and I guess where I'm getting a little bit thrown off with that strategy is I can, and I think maybe I described it towards the end. I think diversity is good, but as I don't know if it's moving more towards chaotic sort of massing that, and just the street level presence, I think is maybe starting to be consistent. So again, I don't want to try to suggest too much into the design strategies, but more that when I look at it holistically, as we are with this with this project, I'm just curious if there's, like, for example, there's some the material stone being utilized in the duets, and I don't, unless I missed it, I don't think that thread really runs through the other projects, and so even if the massing starts shifting and changing, I guess too much is changing in my mind where it doesn't feel consistent. So if the materials can sort of carry over, that would create a little bit more connection. Unless there's really a desire to be disconnected and completely different, then maybe I can understand that as well. So, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily the desire of this neighborhood. So.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, unless, I don't know if we want you to respond to everyone's question at once, or, oh, see some head shaking. You really want to jump in right now? Okay, sure, all right. Mm-hmm.
But we can do it like, we can start talking about the duets. I mean, we cannot change too much, but we can start working together with KTUY to try to start working on different materials, try to make it more kind of like part of that. I mean, yes, we want to create kind of like differentiation. We want to have different styles, but also we are trying to bring the community together to make it more welcoming. And we thought that having different kind of building styles, I mean, can have a different option for everyone. We don't want to break any consistency with anything, but we can, I mean, work around it.
Yeah,
at least
no,
colors or something.
I mean,
like that.
I agree that diversity is good. I think it's great for a neighborhood to be diverse. So it was more on the aesthetics of how that gets manifested was where I was coming from.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other board comments or questions? Yes, Board Member Ruiz.
Yes, I do have comments on the plan. Since I have met with the developer, most of my comments are not pertaining to architecture. I understand this is the design review, and we're bound to the asks that's in the agenda, but I want to raise something that I have brought up when the development plan first came to the planning board back in 2023. I have concerns about the connection between East Greenway to Main Street and how it continues to King Fisher's Road to Ruby Bridges. The block, does the control intersection between West Midway and Tower is long. So when you created that East Greenway ends at Main Street, inevitably residents are going to jaywalk, shortcut into Kingfisher to go to Ruby Bridges. Nobody's going to go all the way up to Tower, all the way down to Tower, or all the way up to West Midway. So as the project moves forward, I would like the developer to work with the Public Works Department to figure out how to make that intersection safe. Again, I know that is not the purview of this, that's not what's being asked of us to review the project right now, but for the sake of the safety of our residents, please do something about that. Otherwise, we're just creating an intersection for people to encouraging jaywalk, because you have sidewalks that dead end to Main Street that can easily connect to the other side, to Ruby Bridges. Okay, so that's comment number one. Comment number two, it has to do with lighting plan. I noticed that more and more in these developments, we have private streets that is up to the HOA to maintain the streets. Therefore, the lighting, the photometrics depends on the facade lighting of the individual buildings, the homeowners association, to maintain them. And I've driven around the neighborhood, all these newer developments. When those lights go out, the homeowners don't replace them, okay? The light bulbs that's lighting a lot of the fire department signs, the addresses that the fire department asks for, if you drive around town at night, you will notice that they are out and they are not being replaced. So as we move forward to review this, when the project comes through to the building permit stage, look at the photometric, see if these private streets, are we relying so much on the facade luminaire rather than the public street lighting? Just think about that so they don't go dark, especially if I'm looking at the current lighting plan as it's being proposed now in this package. There's no luminaire in the alleys. Nothing is shown on the alleys because they're the driveway. So you're depending on the light that's in the garage, above the garage door, to light the alleyways. And when those go out, the homeowners do not replace them. So this is just comments for future consideration. It does not affect what is being asked of us right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Han?
Yeah, I'll offer my comment. My comments are really more general, not as specific architecturally, though I have one specific item. First of all, I generally find this project very well-designed. The issue of consistency between the designs, I saw that they were very different, so I understand where Board Member Sahiba is coming from. On the other hand, I kind of like the fact that they use 3 different architects, because you see, to me, I see too many projects that are like mega blocks that are very uniform. And the fact that this is more differentiated and almost looks like 3 separate projects, like in a more kind of granular urban setting where you have developers building smaller parcels. I like that variety. I like the fact that there is this inconsistency. To me, it's just, I know, to me, a little bit more interesting, but I also see maybe there is some point of trying to bring a little bit more consistency. Like, for instance, I see that stonework is being used for the duets. Maybe bringing in some of the stonework or similar materials in the other 2 designs might make sense, even though the designs are very different. I don't have specific suggestions of where, but that might help provide a little bit of continuity, but at the same time still maintain the individuality of each one of the products. I actually find that a positive and not necessarily a negative. I do like the pedestrian-oriented nature of the project. It's kind of a grid design with a strong greenway design. I think that is the connectivity with the surroundings. By doing that, I think is very positive. The only comment I have, and this is perhaps the picky one, that I think I had mentioned it to the applicant, but I just find it a little odd regarding the duets. Duets are probably the ones, the design that I probably have the most I'm not sure about, but then I'm not an architect. But if you go to sheet A1-1-13, there's this odd element, the rear elevation, where you have this large rectangular projection, which is, could be nice, but then you have these two really small windows. That element right there just looks kind of odd to me, and it doesn't match the rest of the design, so to me, it's kind of disruptive. So that's my only really picky comment, that I found that elevation to look a little strange. But anyway, otherwise, I think the project will be very positive. The fact that it's right next to the ferry building. I like the 3 different types of housing units being proposed, so it adds a little bit, adds variety, so it's not as uniform looking as it could possibly be. And the central open space is very positive. That also kind of creates a neighborhood cohesiveness to the development. So those are my general comments.
Thank you. Yes, Board Member Wang?
Yeah, so thank you to staff, thank you to the project applicant. I do want to make a comment that I think is going to dovetail a little bit with board members Sahiba's, but before getting there, I do want to say, I think the last few weeks we've been talking a little bit about the inclusionary housing ordinance. I've been a little bit vocal about the fact that we aren't having much housing generated in the city right now. The only thing that pencils is townhomes. I think at City Council just the other day, staff was saying that this past year we had maybe 400 units approved or permitted, and a full half of them were ADUs, which is astonishing for a couple reasons. But here we are with a project that's 284 units. I think it's super exciting, super gratifying to be here. You can tell that staff has done a lot of hard work. The project applicant has done a lot of hard work. You can see the passion evident in the project. I'm super excited to see this project come to life. Very happy to be in a position to support it. I would also just, being relatively a newbie on the board, it's exciting to have an opportunity to engage with a project that's coming forward in Alameda at this scale. I have the sense that, these townhome neighborhoods are super important for our urban fabric. One of the reasons is it's the only thing that gets built these days. But the other reason is it's I think increasingly an important part of the way that Alameda is evolving into the future. So all of that is to say, I am very eager to open, I think, a dialogue with this board and with staff on the qualities of these types of neighborhoods. Because I think there's a lot to say about them that may not show up at the level of objective design checklists, which tend to be more at the building scale and not at the neighborhood scale. So that is something that I would like to talk about and think about going forward. For this project, I think I would just offer one musing, maybe, and that is, I think what we're after in developments like these is that we want to build new neighborhoods in Alameda, right? We're not just building buildings or clusters of buildings or developments. We're building neighborhoods, and to be in a neighborhood with single family homes, whether they're in a sort of attached building type or whether they're detached, I think there's a sort of psychological sense, like if I were in a neighborhood, I instinctively want to understand where the units are. And so as I'm walking down the block, I want to understand I've passed unit 1, I've passed unit 2, I've passed unit 3. That I think has a sort of psychological benefit to your sense of how you're moving through the neighborhood, who's living in that neighborhood, whether you see people in there or not. You can kind of sense, here's a home, here's another home, here's another home. And so I think when we have too much articulation that breaks away from that kind of vertical understanding of where homes are, you certainly get more articulation, you get more variety for the eye to grab onto, right? You get more detail, but you lose a sense of the households that are making up that neighborhood. You can see the front doors, right? But you can't really guess at what's happening behind the front doors because there's so much happening on the facade. And so I was gonna speak about the duets, not to zero in on the duets, but just as a way of talking about this topic. Because I think by and large in this development, there are a lot of buildings where you can kind of get that sense of rhythm from one unit to the next. And I think the duets were one particular place where we could sort of think about the idea of like, hey, can you tell one neighbor from the next neighbor? And this, I think, was an opportunity because it's such a simple concept, right? Even in the name, you called it duet, which is a really nice, like, kind of poetic name. Like, I almost want to see the duets as you can understand where those units are by seeing the articulation purely between one unit and the next. And that's enough to tell the story of what's happening there, right? That allows each unit to actually be quite simple and spare and not have so much stuff going on. And there might be something really nice about that. That's all to say. I mean, I think this is just a different way of saying what board members Heba was saying. They're not terribly large buildings, and so I think there is an opportunity to be sort of quiet, but really, really nice, and to understand, going beyond just seeing the two front doors as your way of understanding where the units are, like just expressing those units and having those units sort of say, well, this is the first unit, here's the second unit, and here they are, they're married, and they're singing together, right? So I think that's all I have to say. I'm super excited to support this project and to see it come to life. Yeah.
Board Member Sahiba?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add one more thing. And I should have probably brought this up in the clarifying questions section, but what I didn't quite understand was the intersection of West Midway and Main Street. The rhythm of the duets is then shifted, but there must have been some rationale behind it, where building 30, I guess, doesn't hold a corner like the other buildings do. It's just it's in the same type as I guess, like building 28, 28, 29, and then 30 versus all other buildings in the duet community facing West Midway actually turn the corner, have a corner to them, but the ones at the end don't. Sorry, I forgot to ask previously why that strategy is, especially considering the intersection of West Midway and Main Street being a main intersection.
I don't know.
It must have been a reason.
You're absolutely right. There is a reason for that. And we had originally planned on utilizing the L-shaped building in that module as well. But however, if you notice, the site does tighten up in that corner. And those buildings just wouldn't fit in the space that was provided, and the same note would then impair the site visibility triangles needed at that intersection. So that's why we
Oh.
chose to repeat the middle and end units at the end. However, those are enhanced, they have additional enhancements so that they feel different and they have
okay.
access off of West Midway as well as for the one on the left off of the Paseo and the one on the right off of Main Street.
I see. Okay,
That's the reason.
thank you.
Any other comments? I guess with that, I hope the applicant has gotten the feedback that, and, you know, there's a little bit contrasting opinions here, but overall, like, support for having a architecturally interesting and diverse community, which I think that is very much achieved. So I just want to echo the sentiments of my fellow board members where, I think we're all really excited about this addition to our community and what it does for addressing our housing challenges here. I think I also love the pedestrian friendliness, the opportunity for walking and biking, and what this will do for advancing the Reshape project and its connection to the Reshape project. So, with that, I want to open it up to make a motion. Whoever wants to make a motion.
I will move to adopt the draft resolutions adopting the CEQA findings and design review, and also the draft resolution for the vesting tentative map, and recommending that the city council approve the proposed street names for this project.
All right,
I second.
great. And with that, all those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose, and we have one abstention. All right, and that motion moves. Oh, yeah.
One absence.
Absence, not abstention.
Thank you, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's absent. She can't abstain. So. All right, and with that, the motion passes, so thank you. And huge thanks to the applicant and to the public for your comments. With that, we're closing 5A and moving on to 5B. This is to look at this project on Tilden Way for, what is this exactly? The tree removal plan. A recommendation to the city council for a tree removal and replanting plan.
Good evening, President Cisneros, members of the Planning Board. My name is Scott Wickstrom. I'm the city engineer for the city of Alameda. I want to do a brief introduction before my colleague Ali Hatifi comes up here to give the presentation. We are here because the city council approved an amended tree removal policy in 2014. The Tilden Clement Roundabout, which is the project we're talking about up here, is one of the first CIP projects since 2014 that has removed a large number of trees associated with the project. City Council did approve the concept for the whole roundabout and the changes approved the project in early 2023. There was reference to tree removals during that conceptual approval, but no specific details. I'll admit we are a little bit out of order. This is definitely my fault. City Council actually approved the construction contract for the Tilden Clement project earlier this year. And as we were preparing noticing requirements for the tree removals, we read the tree removal policy a little more clearly again and recognized that we missed a step, that we need to come to the planning board to ask for a recommendation for tree removals that ultimately will end up at city council, scheduled currently for the 16th for approval. So with that introduction, I will let Ali speak to the presentation tonight.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening. My name is Ali Hatefi with the City of Alameda Public Works Department, and tonight I'll be presenting the Clement Tilden project for the Planning Board's review on staff's recommendation for the removal of 6.5 trees. The plan improvement for the projects also includes replanting 101 new trees along with improvements that'll be taking place. Thanks. So for tonight's presentation, I'll go over the location and scope and improvements for the Clement Tilden project, timeline and current status of the project, tree removal and planning that's proposed for the project, along with our recommendation for moving forward to seek approval for tree removal through City Council. Next slide, please. So as Scott mentioned, we do have a tree removal policy which states that for any capital improvement project that removes more than 5% of trees on any given street block face would require a public hearing or discussion, which includes review and recommendation through the planning board as well as approval from the City Council. Currently, we are scheduled to go to City Council at the next regular scheduled meeting, which is Tuesday, December 16th. Just also want to mention that trees that are protected under the city's ordinance, such as coast live oak trees, would have their removals reviewed by the Historical Advisory Board. Next slide, please. So the Clement Tilden project is located on a gateway arterial street at the northeast corner of Alameda Island on Tilden Way between Broadway and the Miller-Sweeney Bridge to Fruitvale, Oakland. The current site includes two intersections operated by traffic signals, which is Tilden Broadway and Tilden blinding frontside intersections, as well as a striped bike lane and sidewalks that are adjacent or next to the roadway, as well as the open space to the north of Tilden Way that is currently not used and was formerly owned by the Union Pacific Railway. Next slide, please. Okay, so the goals for the Clement Tilden project are to prioritize safety as well as improve the movement for all users, including bicyclists and pedestrians, as well as providing landscape improvements for Gateway in Alameda, as well as complying with the city's plans and policies. That includes our Vision Zero Action Plan and the city's active transportation plan. Next slide, please. So based on the goals and outcomes that we're seeking, the scope of the Clement Tilden project, for the Clement Tilden project, the proposed scope includes constructing a roundabout at the intersection of Tilden, Blanding, and Furchside. Road diet on Tilden Way, reducing the street from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane in each direction. The extension of Clement Avenue from Broadway to Tilden Way, as well as the connections, completing the Cross Alameda Trail connection on the east side, San Francisco Bay Trail connection, as well as overall bicycle and pedestrian improvements. And other improvements we have includes removing old railroad equipment, railroad tracks, as well as the contaminant soil within the railroad property, as well as landscape improvements and a new dog park at the northeast corner of Tilden and Blanding. So just want to talk about the more recent timeline for the project. I know that this project has been in discussions for more than 10 years, but more recently, the city staff started seeking public input back in 2022, which includes going through a series of surveys, workshops, and open house, which led to the development of the formal concept plan that was reviewed by our Transportation Commission, which they endorsed, and then that followed with the City Council approval in early 2023. With the approval of the concept plan, the city, through the consultants, started development of the engineering plans, which were completed in spring 2025, and then that led to going out for construction bids and then awarding a construction contract to a contractor. Most recently, we went through the pre-construction process as well as having our contractor who just is mobilized on site right now. Next slide. So as mentioned before, the city's tree removal policy requires capital improvement projects that remove more than 5% of trees in any street block to be reviewed by the planning board and approved by city council. The Clement Tilden project identifies 65 trees ranging from 1 inches to 38 inches in diameter of various species to be removed in order to construct the project, which includes the new roundabout, the Clement Avenue extension, to complete the Cross Avenue Trail and truck route connections, soil remediation at the former railroad site, and along with new sidewalks, cycle tracks, and connections to the SF Bay Trail. And then this table here kind of shows a list. It's a little hard to see, but maybe easier to see on Exhibit 1, the list of trees that are selected to be removed. 4 of the trees to be removed are coast live oaks, which are listed trees and require the approval or certificate of approval from the Historical Advisory Board. 1 coast live oak tree did receive approval on December 2023 at the staff level, since it was identified as a risk to public health, while the 3 other coast live oaks received approval from the Historical Advisory Board at last Thursday's meeting. The coast live oaks were the only trees identified, only listed trees that were identified for removal from this project. Next slide, please. The city's tree removal policy for CIP projects requires notices to be posted on each tree to be removed, along with the posting on the city's website showing which trees are to be removed, the location, which is shown on Exhibit 1 in the staff report. The tree removal notices also provides dates for public discussions for the planning board and city council meetings, along with information on how to submit comments and where to find the city's tree removal policy. In addition, notices were also posted on the 3 live oaks that were presented to the Historical Advisory Board last week. Next slide. The project itself, as part of the overall landscape improvements, will plant 101 new trees, each in 24-inch size boxes and spaced accordingly. The trees will be, the project will replant will also include the 8 coast live oaks due to the removal of the 4 coast live oaks for the project, as well as other various species to help minimize impacts to the curbs, sidewalks, and drainage system. All these new trees will be irrigated and will have a 1-year establishment maintenance period as part of the construction project. The Exhibit 2, or the revised one that's provides the list and location of the new trees that are to be planted, which is also provided on the city website as part of our posting for the removal of the 65 trees. With that, to conclude my presentation, staff is asking for Planning's board review and concurrence for recommendation for City Council to approve the removal of 65 trees and planting of 101 new trees for the Clement Avenue Tilden Way Improvements Project. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. And with that, we'll bring it back to the board for any clarifying questions. Board Member Hom.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I do have some questions. There was a second exhibit that was called supplemental plan. I couldn't understand what that plan is about versus the primary set of plans you submitted. Can you clarify what that supplement is? It looked like it only pertained to the ground level planting. Is it like just an alternative ground level planting scheme, or can you clarify?
Certainly, yes. So we just, the supplemental Exhibit 2 kind of replaces the original Exhibit 2 just to provide a more of a overview of the new trees that are going to be planted as part of the project, as part of the project's landscape improvements.
So it's not a different planting plan?
Oh, no, it's I believe the sheets were kind of just rearranged differently with the supplemental exhibit just to clarify more of the proposed planting plan as part of the landscape improvements for the construction project.
Okay, thanks. Then I have a question related to the city street tree master plan. There's reference in the staff report about compliance of tree preservation requirements that are outlined in the master plan. I was wondering, how did the master plan inform, if it did, the selection of the trees, the replacement trees?
Sorry?
How did, I know the street tree master plan has a list of, I believe, preferred or recommended trees. And I was wondering, how did the master plan inform the selection of the replacement trees?
Yeah, so the planting plan was prepared by the project landscape architect. It was reviewed by our internal staff, particularly an arborist that we have on staff, who is very well versed with the street tree master plan himself. I can't speak to that with my own knowledge, but it was reviewed internally by our certified arborist on staff for compliance.
So there weren't necessarily any preferred list of trees? I'm just kind of wondering, wondering the thought process of how you arrived at the proposed replacement tree. One of the specific questions I have is, I noticed there's not that many new oak trees being proposed, a live oak, which is one of the significant trees, and I thought maybe there might be, an emphasis, a little bit more emphasis on the coast live oaks.
Yeah, I do know that we did replant at a 2-to-1 ratio, which is consistent with the requirements in the municipal.
Right.
Historical Advisory Board.
I'm talking about the tree species selection.
Yeah. Do you know more about that? I don't, unfortunately, and we do not have the arborist or the landscape architect.
Yeah. Because I see there's only 2 proposed coast live oak as part of the total 65 replacement trees. Just wondering, it seems,
Right, so for the planting plan, we do have a total of 8 coastal live oaks, as well as Engelmann's oaks and island live oaks to be replanted as part of the project.
okay. I see on the plant list, it just says 2,
Let's see.
unless I'm,
Do you see the plant list by retention area?
I'm looking at the plant list that's on page 30, sheet 30 of 38. Is that not the correct plant list?
Let's see. Do you see a table that says plant list by retention area?
I guess I'm looking at sheet 30. Is that not the right list?
It should be on the same sheet.
Alternate, I see alternate trees, and there's 14. I guess I'm just not clear. These plans, I had a hard time trying to understand these plans.
You
There's-
said plant list by
there-
retention?
There's a
Yeah,
plant,
if you go to page 30, it says 140, 30 of 38,
yeah, that's where I'm at.
on the
Yeah.
right-hand side, upper right-hand
140
side.
of
Yeah,
156.
so it says plant list trees only, and I see in that list,
Yeah, on that left, where it says plant list trees only, there's 2.
Right.
Coast live oak. To the
Right.
right of that, there's a 6 additional, in the table to the right where it says plant list bioretention, there's 6 additional.
okay,
coast
so
live
it's a
oak.
total
So
of
there's a
that.
total of 8.
Okay, I see. Thanks for clarifying. And then what are the alternate trees where there's additional? What's it, I guess, yeah, just explain, just for my clarification.
Right, certainly.
There's a
So-
plant list on the upper, left-hand corner, and then you have the other one with the additional 6. So is there a total like 9? Because I see 1 plant list add alternate 1 tree.
Right, so the plant list add alternate 1 trees or additional trees that would be planted if there are 5 additional trees that's included as part of the 56 that need to be
They need
removed
to be removed.
in order to
Okay.
meet our soil remediation goals for the project.
Okay, all right. Thanks for clarifying. And then the other question, and thank you for mentioning irrigation, because that was one of my questions. I didn't see that there were irrigation plans attached, which it doesn't need to be, but what type of irrigation will these trees be receiving? The replacement trees?
It should, I believe they
it
should be receiving.
Kind of like Is it meant to be drip system, bubblers?
I believe they're a combination of bubblers and drip systems that will be
Okay.
installed for the project.
Okay. And then I just have a CEQA question. The staff report mentions that the removal of the trees was covered by the environmental impact report. So did the environmental impact report get to the level of detail of addressing tree removal? I'm just a question.
I don't believe it did get into the details since, I mean, is that the 2009 EIO report? Yeah, it did not get into the detail.
So when the staff report says the issue of the tree removal was covered by the prior EIR, I'm kind of wondering what level of coverage did it get into?
Right, I think it talked, I don't think there were any protected trees that were going to be removed that were identified in the EIR, so there was no impact identified in the EIR.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Board Member Luis and then Sahiba.
Question on the bioretention. I noticed that there were small areas that's annotated on sheet. Oh shoot, which one was I? Sheet 122 of, which is L 3.03. It says a bioretention planter as CD. Is that the only one, or because I saw some symbols that's going to other areas, such as just want to clarify, are there other bioretention areas besides the one that's?
We'll have multiple bioretention areas that will treat the runoff due to the new improvements and the
Okay.
reconstructed areas
Okay.
to meet our clean water goals for the project.
So pretty much most of the planting areas will have bioretention areas that, okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And Board Member Sahiba, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question about, there's, I guess this is page 118 of 156, but existing trees for transplant on site, are those, there's 4 of them, 3 being coast live oaks, so those will be trees that are relocated? Okay, I didn't know if that was clear previously, that that's what's happening. So,
Yes, so as part of the
Okay.
improvements, we identify like 4 or 5 trees that are suitable for relocation.
okay, and so that's what's happening, I see, okay. Okay, great. And you described the Clement extension, which I can see there, but Pearl Street also is being modified as well, it looks like, in this plan.
What is the plan for Pearl Street?
Yeah, what's the plan for Pearl Street? I see that it's, I think its configuration is changing, and I don't, which I think is probably a safer situation than what it is currently, where you're not crossing traffic, right?
Right,
To
so-
try to make this, I know there's an opportunity currently where you can cross over and make it over to Tilden or through Fernside and then Tilden, but that's being reorganized, so.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that'll be included as part of the overall improvements we're making to the intersection, since Pearl is right next to the intersection of Tilden and
right, right.
Fernside, and that also include crossing improvements going across Fernside from Pearl, which isn't currently there, as well as kind of an increase in the area of the sidewalks, as well as a median area to provide a safer crossing experience
I
where
see.
one doesn't exist right now.
Okay. Makes sense, thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Yep.
Okay. Board Member Sue?
Just piggyback off of Board Member Ham's CEQA comment, I went back to look at the 2023, I think looks like it's the city's, city council authorization of the city manager to execute an agreement for Kittleson and Associates to design this project. And I'm sure there were other approvals that the city council made, but here the city council just did a category exempt under CEQA guidelines as existing facilities. So I wonder maybe if we want to be consistent, we could just do the same thing, because maybe presumably that project also, contemplated the removal of such trees at some point. But perhaps that might be the more just consistent way to approach the CEQA for this.
Yeah, I would suggest that if you do that you also rely on the EIR, because the EIR does look at whether there are any specific biological impacts associated with the one, I believe it was 1 or 2 historic trees that were going to be removed, or trees of a certain diameter that required historic review associated with that. So there was some level of review done in the EIR as well. But you could also adopt the exemption.
So then, because I know for those trees that need the, I think, historical board review, or will they just also rely on the EIR then for their CEQA?
They did, I believe that the HAB also looked at that EIR for the CEQA review.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I would be fine just relying on that then for this.
Okay.
Board Member Hahn?
Yeah, just have another CEQA question. That's just because in other projects it comes up and it covers it. Is that sometimes the master EIR, where there's significant tree removal, there's these typical mitigation measures that says, biologists needs to survey these trees to make sure there's not any endangered or threatened species that are nesting sites. Does the EIR include those requirements in the mitigation monitoring plan?
Right. Yes, that typically is done if the project site includes trees with protected species.
So it's covered in the mitigation monitoring plan for this EIR?
I don't think it was.
It wasn't, okay.
I don't believe so, because I don't think that any endangered species.
Was a survey done to confirm that?
I don't know what type of survey. We can certainly look that
Yeah,
up.
I mean, that's just kind of typical thing that you see. It's like a
Right.
standard condition that shows up in wherever there's a lot of vegetation being removed. I'm not
Right.
suggesting at all that there's a, endangered species,
Right.
Living in one of those trees, but it's always a good precaution.
Yes, yes.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, then thank you so much for the presentation, answering our questions. We'll go ahead and open up for public comment. If anyone maybe on Zoom has any comment?
There's anybody online that would like to comment on the project, please raise your hand. Not seeing anybody raising their hands. Don't think we have any public commenters.
Okay, great. Moving to close public comment and bringing it back to the board for any discussion, deliberation, recommendations. Board Member Sahiba?
Thanks for the presentation again. I just wanted to say this is a really great plan that you all have organized, and I think will be a really good gateway into the city from Fruitvale Bridge, so thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Hahn?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the tree removal plan and the tree replacement plan. I second the comment from Board Member Sahiba. I think this will be a wonderful gateway element into the city. I've seen a couple of other roundabouts the city has recently installed, and I think it really enhances those intersections. So I'm, it's always tough to see some mature trees being removed, but the tree replacement plan is a 2-for-1 requirement with 24-inch box trees. So I think that's very positive.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And if any other comments before we vote? All right. And I'll just say, I echo the sentiments. I'm excited for this project to move forward and how it'll improve our community. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have one absence. All right. And with that, we'll go ahead and close item 5B. Thank you. And we're going to move on to item 6, which is staff communications. We have 6A, 6B. I'll hand it over to staff.
Yes, 6A is recently approved design review and certificate of approval projects. Those are published online and in their appeal period and available for call for review by the planning board or city council. 6B, I did want to mention a couple of things. Harbor Bay Landing Shopping Center, we had a SB 330 application, a pre-application. It has been withdrawn pending further due diligence. The applicant heard the community loud and clear and wanted to continue conversation with Safeway and the landowner and see if they could come to some terms for a modified development proposal. So we'll keep you informed as that evolves. And then secondly, I wanted to mention one of our work program goals for the year is to undertake a review of the commercial zoning on Park and Webster in the community commercial zone. And we are working with our partners in the Economic Development Division and with the business associations, and we're preparing an outreach plan and a work plan to evaluate the sort of hindrances that are possibly something that the city can control in terms of resulting in various storefront vacancies and what we can do to try to spur some more investment. So we are also looking for a couple of volunteers from the planning board. And you can, I suppose, self-select or nominate or however you want to go about it. I think at this point, staff is still formulating our own work plan and work group. So we could also bring this back at your next meeting. We plan to kick off in January. But I wanted to give you a heads up. We're expecting to have, say, 3 or 4 meetings every month or two early in 2026 with that working group. And so you would be part of those conversations probably during the work day, probably on Zoom, and we would publish an agenda and review materials ahead of time. So maybe we can bring that back in January and give it some thought.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up. That sounds like an important effort that I'm excited that discussion is happening. A clarifying question, would there be like other folks involved in this meeting? I don't know, this isn't realistic, but I think of like a broker or something, like someone.
I failed to mention, yes, real estate professionals, property owners, other folks that are involved and have a sense of what's working and what's not working.
Okay, that's great. If no one is jumping at the moment, I think that's fine if you all want to think about that a little bit more. And maybe also over email, you could solicit volunteers, and we'll come back to this in the new year. All right.
I'll volunteer.
Oh, great. Yeah, you have one. Anyone else? Gentle pressure.
Sure, I'll volunteer.
Aw.
You sound so enthusiastic.
Very convincing.
Aw, thank you so much. I really, yeah, yay, I'm excited.
You
Yeah.
said Zoom, right?
Yes, yes, and it's shouldn't be too much work, but, conceptually, we're looking at the zoning, land use table, and the permit thresholds, and then we'll probably talk a little bit about design review and historic review, and business licenses, and, building code issues and things like that, but there's really only so much that zoning can influence, so we're going to focus on that, but economic development is going to also be focusing on some of those other things.
I just had a question on 6A, real quick. I noticed there's a application to demolish the gas station at McCartney and Island Drive, which is where the shopping center is. Do you know if that is still going forward despite the pulling of the application for the project there?
Yes, that was actually a separate application. It was by the owner and operator of the gas station. There's a state law that mandates either replacement or removal of tanks by December 31st. They are cutting it close. In fact, they were ready to pull their building permit, and then they discovered that they needed design review. And so, because although it's an alteration, even though they're clearing the site, that's an alteration from what the planned development zoning approved when it was first built 50 years ago. And so now they're approved for removal and restoration of the site.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, good catch. Oh, great. If any other comments or, oh yes, Board Member Hom?
I just wanted to commend staff for the field trip for the Alameda Point that was led on Saturday. I found it really informative, and a lot of good information, and was well organized, and a lot of information packed into, I guess, the hour and a half or 2 hours that was spent. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, again, I'll commend the Base Reuse and Economic Development Department for that. I was part of the review team as they were preparing their presentation, but I think they really pulled it together, and from what I've heard, it was very fruitful for staff as well.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and open up for public comment for item 6. See no public comments. We'll go ahead and close that. And then I think this kind of segues to the board communications. Item 7, I agree, the learning trip was excellent, so thank you so much to your team for organizing that. Any other board communications? Okay, seeing that, we'll close that. And we're going to open up to any public comments, any non-agenda public comments.
Not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Well, before we adjourn, I just want to wish everyone happy holidays and have a wonderful and safe new year. And I'll see you in 2026, I guess. So, yeah, thank you all, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.